When we were in the offstage announce area tent behind the stage, he was very concerned about the shot, meaning the photograph that we would get, because the rally space wasn't full. One of the reasons, which I've previously stated, was because he wanted it to be full and for people to not feel excluded because they'd come far to watch him at the rally. And he felt the mags were at fault for not letting everybody in. But another leading reason, and likely the primary reason, is because he wanted it full and he was angry that we weren't letting people through the mags with weapons, what the Secret Service deems as weapons and our weapons.
In addition to sharing what you just heard, that is, that Donald Trump wanted people to bring weapons inside the Stop the Steal rally, Cassidy Hutchinson spilled the tea on Trump this morning in front of the January 6th Congressional Committee. But even assuming that all of what Hutchinson's intel is accurate, could that testimony be used against Trump and co. in a court of law? Welcome into TYT's Overruled. I'm legal analyst Adrienne Lawrence. Cassidy Hutchinson delivered shocking testimony today before the Congressional Committee investigating the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. The 25-year-old former aide to Trump's chief of staff, Mark Meadows, gave us incredible insight into how Trump handled himself during the attack on the U.S. Capitol and in the surrounding days. Now, before we dive into these big-ticket takeaways, let's go ahead and watch about 3 eye-opening moments in particular. First, Hutchinson testified as to how Donald Trump handled Secret Service's attempt to prevent the former president from going to the U.S. Capitol to join his insurrectionists.
When the president got in the Beast, he was under the impression from Mr. Meadows that the off-the-record movement to the Capitol was still possible and likely to happen, but that Bobby had more information. So once the president had gotten into the vehicle with Bobby, he thought that they were going up to the Capitol, and when Bobby had relayed to him, we don't have the assets to do it, it's not secure, we're going back to the West Wing, the president had very strong, a very angry response to that. Tony described him as being irate. The president said something to the effect of, "I'm the effing president, take me up to the Capitol now." To which Bobby responded, "Sir, we have to go back to the West Wing." The president reached up towards the front of the vehicle to grab at the steering wheel. Mr. Engel grabbed his arm, said, "Sir, you need to take your hand off the steering wheel. We're going back to the West Wing. We're not going to the Capitol." Mr. Trump then used his free hand to lunge towards Bobby Engel. And when Mr. Renato had recounted this story to me, he had motioned towards his clavicles.
Basically, Trump tried to choke out a member of Secret Service. Second, Hutchinson enlightened us as to how Trump responded upon learning that there was no evidence of the voter fraud and, well, that his AG had made that account clear.
The physical altercation that Ms. Hutchinson described in the presidential vehicle was not the first time that the president had become very angry about issues relating to the election. On December 1, 2020, Attorney General Barr said in an interview that the Department of Justice had not found evidence of widespread election fraud.
The valet had articulated that the president was extremely angry at the Attorney General's AP interview and had thrown his lunch against the wall, which was causing them to have to clean up. So I grabbed a towel and started wiping the ketchup off of the wall to help the valet out.
Third, we also learned how Donnie responded when he was informed that his Vice President Mike Pence was under siege by Trump's minions.
I remember Pat saying something to the effect of, "Mark, we need to do something more. They're literally calling for the Vice President to be effing hung." And Mark had responded something to the effect of, "You heard him, Pat. He thinks Mike deserves it. He doesn't think they're doing anything wrong."
All right, so we've heard enough. Hutchinson aired out Trump's antics, some of which could certainly seem to be criminal. But is it enough? It would definitely appear to be sufficient to indict Trump and co. for an attempted coup without running afoul of hearsay rules. Generally, hearsay is inadmissible as evidence. Now, if you've forgotten, well, hearsay is an out-of-court statement offered for the truth of the matter asserted. Now, that means that it's a statement basically made out of court and it's purported to be true. Now, one of the exceptions to hearsay is when the person who made the statement is present in court and can tell their side. So if Donald Trump and co., meaning Mark Meadows and others with whom Trump conspired to overturn the election, were to be indicted and prosecuted together under some kind of conspiracy theory, well, it would seem that a nice amount of Hutchinson's testimony would likely be admissible and be able to be used against them because they'd be defendants. Perhaps that's why DOJ wasn't necessarily looking to prosecute Mark Meadows for blowing off Congress's subpoena. Perhaps Attorney General Garland could be waiting to prosecute them for something bigger than just a misdemeanor. What do you think? You let me know in the comments below. Hit that like and follow button, and thanks for watching.